Mind Over Motor Podcast 2.
Number 2.
What's up, gentlemen and ladies? Or should I say ladies and gentlemen? That'd be the
It's probably
gentleman
more
thing
guys
to do.
than girls. But yeah, we gotta...
I like to think it's 50-50, my friend. You know what I'm saying?
But welcome back. We're excited. This is our second one.
Yeah,
But,
we were happy with the first one, all things
yeah.
considered. It came out well. The audio's still, a little there, but we're working on that.
Yeah, we got some fun topics today. A lot of... Actually, they're pretty random.
They're very random. I think. Like we're jumping all the way around the different areas of the market, and I don't know. We just have a lot of random thoughts about cars, and that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, and I think we'll kind of keep this trend going forward. Yeah, we'll definitely try to be, obviously, reporting on big news that's happening in the industry, but also, like fun topics like top 10s. What would you do? Without getting too reachy. That's the goal, I think.
I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to get reachy.
What
would I do if I could afford 6 Paganis, man?
But hopefully some of our opinions resonate with
you gotta always try and keep it somewhat reasonable. But it is fun to fantasize, of course. But
cool.
There's a bit of each in that. So in today's episode, so let's get to it. All right.
Cool. So I guess to start off, the BMW mystery sedan. It's not really a mystery.
Not much of one.
Yeah, not really.
They just released like the shoulder line.
Yeah, pretty much it
kind of looks like a Fisker Karma. At least with the proportions in this. I don't know if this is a rendering or if it's like a studio shot, but it's like very elongated. But very sleek and very nice. This is probably going to be the 8 Series Grand Coupe, they're saying.
Is it, or is it going to be the ultimate driving machine?
Well, supposedly they're one and the same. I don't know if a 5,000-pound car can be the ultimate driving machine, but that's kind of a topic for a different time. Yeah. But it'll be the ultimate driving machine of 5,000-pound cars. I'll put it that way.
Potentially, yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's the 8 Series.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
I think we're all excited about the 8 Series coming back. The previous 8 Series, every time I see one, is still just so sexy.
Yeah,
it's just
I would totally buy one, even though
classy.
I'm sure to maintain it's a pain in the butt, especially the V12. Yeah. But yeah, it's such a timeless design, in my opinion. I think with most,
it still looks like a shark in traffic these days. Like it's like just on the prowl. And they don't get old. Like it's like it looks its era, but it always looks good in a way. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't look like a new car, but it's like of that early 90s, mid 90s era that like it's just timeless in that regard. It'll definitely be a classic
for sure.
So we'll see what happens with this one. I like the concept they released so far of the 2-door. That looks beautiful.
Pebble Beach, right? Was that the first?
So I can't quote me on that, but I think it was Pebble Beach.
Right, but it looked amazing, and I think we're obviously not breaking any new ground here in reporting on this.
That's just our opinions on it. It looks like they're saying 4.4 liter V8 with upwards of 600 horsepower, so essentially the same engine they're putting in the M5. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the M version and the normal one will get more normal engines, or, part of me secretly hopes this is an 8 Series. I'm hoping it's going to be bigger than the 6 Series, and, maybe we could get that twin-turbo V12 that's shared with Rolls-Royce.
I don't know.
I just love the idea of a V12 GT car,
Yeah, when I say I don't know, I mean they probably will not do that.
Carbon output-wise.
The percentage of them actually doing that is probably pretty low.
Well, and let's be honest, I think, since Rolls-Royce falls under BMW, their corporate carbon footprint, they might have all the 12 cylinders they can really handle in the Rolls-Royce lineup, and with the 1.7 Series, they might need, to balance out with the i3s and stuff. I don't know, maybe I don't know if they can justify another 12-cylinder, but I really hope they can, because I think that would be really cool.
That'd be super awesome. Well-balanced engine and all that stuff.
Just so smooth, and just it's one of those like ultimate luxury things. There's no reason for it. You can make just as much power with the V8, but it's cool to be like, I have a V12 BMW. It's just fucking cool, man. Absolutely.
I don't disagree.
The Grand Coupe, I think the market, I think the 2-door looks amazing, but the market has clearly shown this affinity for these coupe-styled sedans. Like, normal sedans are really not selling as well these days. People are either going crossovers or they're going for these sexy coupe things. And I'm okay with that. I'd be okay if the normal 3 Series looked like the 4 Series Grand Coupe. Like, I don't see... Or, like, with that swooping line. Maybe not verbatim, but, like, if they made a better-looking car instead of just, like, an average-looking sedan, I'd be all right with that.
I wouldn't, but...
like, this could just be the 7 Series, like, or whatever. Like, why does it have to be an 8 Series Grand Coupe? Like, just make that, the 7 Series, make all of them sexy instead of, like... not that the normal 7 Series isn't sexy.
Well, because you can't really do a 7 Series in a coupe unless you make... Because the roof line has to be low in a coupe, right?
That's true.
And the whole point of a 7 Series competing with the S-Class and whatnot, it's supposed to be for the passenger, so... Unless they can somehow engineer a really good way to make
that's a really good point, actually, though. If it's more about the people in the back seat, you can't have that swooping roof line.
Yeah, you can't.
I know in my CC, it's like, some of my taller friends get in the back seat and they're like, nothing.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
But with this car, we were talking about this earlier, but similar or kind of with the model line that BMW has, will this replace the 6 Series? The coupe?
Is there room for both of them?
Right.
I mean, thinking back to the current previous 6 Series, that's a pretty big car. It's on a 7 Series chassis.
Yep.
It has that same kind of 600 horsepower. I don't see much value in having both of those cars in the lineup, really, even price-wise. Like, an M6 was like... 130 grand or like it didn't start there, but like you could spend as much as 130, 140 or as little as around 100, but so where's this car going to be? Is this car going to start at 150, or is this really going to replace the 6 Series for now? I don't know.
Yeah, it should be interesting. I don't think they'll ever make an M8. That'd be really weird. And I don't think there's
rumors. There's always rumors.
Yeah, there's always rumors, but I don't think they will.
Well, they never really made an M7. You know what I mean? I think at a certain point, like when the cars get big enough, it's like, is it really worth making an M7 or an M version of that? Is kind of like, like I said, it's 5,000 pounds. I don't know if it's going to be 5,000 pounds, but I know the 7 Series is 5,000 pounds, and if this is going to be, really based on the same platform, exactly in the same kind of like dimensions, I don't see how it's going to weigh much less than 5,000 pounds. So, like, like the whole notion of an M car being, like, really sharp handling and like, a sporting dynamics, 5,000 pounds is a lot.
It is, but what about the S Coupe, or the S Coupe for Mercedes? They have the AMG version.
They do. They have 2 AMG versions.
Right.
V12 and V8.
Yeah, which is more, I think, more about the motor than the handling and whatnot. True. But, yeah, it's still that badge, that's a different conversation we'll be going into more, but, yeah, it's that badge, like... Hey, I have a Mercedes S Coupe AMG. Yeah. Like, I have a M8. It
is true. Like, it's bad. I guess it's the integrity of the M badge. It's like, what does it really mean? And that's its own kind of separate conversation. There. It's like, because a lot of these, like, I drove an S4, and that's supposedly like a previous gen S4, and I was kind of underwhelmed a little bit. It was like, S is supposed to be sporty, but it's not an RS, and so it's not supposed to be quite like an M3, but like I was surprised how really normal it felt rather than like sporty, even though they're using the S badge. Like, until you really open it up or ask it to do anything, it doesn't really feel like anything but a normal Audi. And I'm, I don't know. Some of these badges really are just becoming more for like.
Yeah, we have a topic, image. That specific topic, for a later day.
I think I think it's on the next one.
The next podcast, I believe.
But yeah, we can pick that.
Yeah, so the next podcast, we're actually kind of picking apart that argument.
Yeah,
or that,
but this
debate.
Yeah, so the 8 Series, from what we can see, certainly from the coupe, and I just assume the Grand Coupe will be just stretched and 4 doors, and
but
I mean sexy for sure.
Yeah, the ones that you see online already it's beautiful. It's a beautiful car. I think it's a new era of BMW. It's definitely a totally different look.
Still kind of has the sharpness to it.
No, it does.
Which I love.
But in terms of design cues, it's definitely way
modern.
It's far
way
from
modern.
What it is right now.
Yeah. It would actually be really cool to see like an i8 type hybrid system with more power, obviously, but into this car, because I think it could pull it off.
Yeah, I think they would do that, because this is more of a Grand Touring car, for sure. This kind of falls into the same category as would you say the Lexus LC?
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So yeah, it's not going to be a
S-Class
track weapon. Maybe you can have some fun with it, but the main purpose of this is going to be going to a nice restaurant.
Grand
with
touring,
your,
man, is a
exactly.
GT car to the fullest.
Totally.
But it'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, I figure like a 340i motor. You know, like the inline six or single turbo, with like 300 and change horsepower, mid 300s. As the gas power plant, and then you have the hybrid drivetrain, you know, total system power in the 400 or 500 range. With a hybrid though, like, oh man, that would sell, and they could do it in this.
But that's like another engineering feat right
Well,
there.
yeah, but they've already kind of got the system down. I think with the i8, it's just putting more motor behind it.
What is it? 3-cylinder?
Yeah, that's the 3-cylinder from the Mini.
1.3.
I think 1.5-ish, something like 1 point something, but it's 3-cylinder turbo.
Yeah.
And then they have the hybrid drivetrain. So
yeah.
I hope they expand with that because that's a good drivetrain.
Yeah.
It works in that car.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you would obviously know more than I, because
I have taken out an i8 for way too long, evidently, a few times at some of these driving events. We got a little bit reprimanded last time we did. We were out for a little bit too long, but you know, it was a good time. We turned some heads. We had some fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that spreads to this model and other BMWs more.
It's really exciting, yeah.
For sure. All right, so let's go to another topic
Nick's
that is
favorite topic.
very near and dear to my heart. I am a Miata guy. I've owned 3 now. I still own a 2014. Oh man, this guy's about to walk out of the room now. I've driven a bunch of them. I've owned a bunch of them. And I have currently I have a 2014 NC Miata Club Edition, which I love to death. His name is Ace, and he is awesome.
Just as a side note, this guy rides around with the top down in a blizzard to work sometimes, and
absolutely.
It's freaking hilarious.
Hey man, it's a lifestyle. It's not a car. You know what I mean?
Right, we'll continue with.
You got to do what you got to do. So this is about the ND Miata. They're going to be upping the horsepower from 155 to 181, and
it's a lot.
Many of you are probably like, "Oh, it's still not any power or anything." But the truth is, that's about a 20% increase.
Yeah, any car 20%. That's
a
lot.
You're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, for an STI, that's like that Subaru bumping the STI to like 360 horsepower.
Yeah,
you know, that's taking that from
difference.
there to like Focus RS territory. So it's definitely a difference you're gonna feel in the car because it only weighs, it's 181 horsepower. It only weighs like 2,300 pounds if you get the lightest, you know, not the hard top and stuff. But yeah, I think the biggest thing with this car is the new Sky Active engine, because it has the ability to vary the timing on intake and exhaust cams. This car, when I drove the normal ND, it had the most mid-range of any naturally aspirated small 2-liter engine I've ever experienced. Usually
maybe a little bit of bias there.
maybe a little bit, but like no, I mean like non-turbo though. Like, you know, when you're talking like a smaller naturally aspirated engine, usually you got to rev the piss out of those to go anywhere.
What about the Honda S2000?
But it's not torque though. It's not mid-range. You know what I mean? You got to rev the shit out of that. Like it's fast. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the way it pulls at like 3,000 RPM. If you compare an S2000 at 3,000 is falling flat on its face. You got to rev that thing up past like 6 and into the VTEC before it'll work. Whereas this thing's constantly adjusting, and you're constantly like you always have punch.
Yeah.
And so 181 horsepower with that kind of mid range, you know, man, that's a lot. That's gonna be a pretty damn good performer. Again, what I love though is they didn't add too much power. Like, you know,
is it?
I don't think so. I think a Miata could probably, honestly, they could probably make a 200 horsepower Miata and it would still be fine.
I don't know about that.
I think so. Because it's like a momentum car, but I mean, you know, if you compare the original Miata, which barely could get on the highway safely.
Okay, yeah, but like, isn't the whole point of a Miata, or one of the main points, to drive it almost foot to the floor in the canyons? Yeah. When you have just a 200 horsepower, you're not going to be foot to the floor most of the time.
No, that's true. And honestly, even my car with 170 horsepower is like, if I'm on a back road, I can get up to pretty serious highway speeds pretty quickly. Like my car 0 to 60 is like 6.2 seconds, and the previous ND was like 5.8 or something. Like that's not a slow car. Like it's not really fast, but it's pretty quick by most standards.
Right, right.
And I mean it's no longer the car that barely can, like I had the 1.6 liter, and then I had to, on some of these on ramps and stuff, if it was like a corner and a short jaunt and you had to merge, you have to apex that turn and be flat if you want to get into traffic safely. So, I mean, they've already kind of lost the, like, real momentum car thing, but overall, especially compared to the other crop of sports cars out there, this is definitely still a momentum car. I mean, how many other sports cars out there these days have less than 300 horsepower? Even the base Boxster and Cayman have, they're not momentum cars anymore. 300 horsepower with a turbo torque, that's a fast car.
Yeah, I would say the... What would you say is like more of a momentum car beside the Fiat? Was it 124, which is pretty much the same?
It's
car,
the same as a Miata, basically. I mean, it's very similar.
But beside those, that one,
relatively, I mean, a Honda S2000
BRZ,
would fit that.
FRS.
Yeah, BRZ FRS for sure.
Yeah, those.
Like that whole class. I really hope Honda makes another S2K, because that will just be awesome.
I don't think they are.
I hope they do.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so
We'll
too,
see,
but I don't think they are. I think I heard something, like I read something somewhere.
There's always a rumor they will, and then they kill it. And I think, well, look at it this way: if they're selling these and they're selling FRSs and stuff, I think there's room for something.
It has to be a strong business case.
It does,
but I don't see it.
It'd be kind of cool to have one with like a SI motor or a Type R engine in it.
I am not arguing against making one. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. It depends on a lot depends on the leadership of the company, and what they think. I mean, supposedly, like the new head of Toyota is very into, making enjoyable cars. Hence the Camry and the sportiness or whatever. But like, all that, and
well, the new Supra.
The new Supra. Joint project with BMW. I mean, I think there is going to be a lot of that.
BMW, really.
It is, yeah. It's the new Z4 and the Supra, I think, are going to share a platform and actually maybe even an engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think there is going to be a lot of sharing, because you have the Fiat 128, Fiat 124, and the Miata share a platform, and then you have like the Supra and the BMW sharing a platform. So there may be more cars like this, but they're going to probably share platforms between manufacturers.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I guess I just hope that they would at least have different engines like the Fiat and the Miata, because, then at least they're a different character. Whereas if you have the same car with a different body or the same engine, it's basically the same car.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, the designs would not even look similar.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I mean, they should
like
be totally
FRS,
different.
BRZs. There's small design cue differences. But yeah, for sure, Toyota and BMW. If they look similar, I don't know what to think after that.
No, I wouldn't be down with that.
Yeah.
But I just hope Mazda's selling enough of these things to justify its existence, because the Miata does. I think there's really no other car out there exactly like it.
Yep, I agree. I completely agree.
Really, ever since it came out, there's not been anything precisely like it.
No,
the S2000 was more aggressive, and
right. And I think the latest or the most recent competitor, or the BRZ FRS. Their focus is not, it's canyon driving, sure, but the Miata is like, the fact that the top goes down, the fact that the interior is more, it doesn't take itself too seriously.
That's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, it's not tacky, I think. Yeah, but it's fun. It's
all about fun.
It's animated to a certain extent, versus the BRZ and FRS are kind of like the entry level to potential serious track driving.
Hey, well, I mean, I think that car, the character of the BRZ when you drive it, is like it kind of takes itself way more seriously than a Miata does. A Miata, you just be grinning and stuff, and you can drive. I mean, the Miata, especially you get the one with the sport options and stuff, the Club Edition. Mm-hmm. But if you get that car, it is very happy to be driven very hard. It is loving an autocross setting, it's loving a back road, it's loving all of that, just as much as a BRZ, and close to as much as an S2000. But you have to get the sport options to make that really a sports car. But the Miata as a roadster on a daily basis to experience is, that's a whole nother level for me, at least, from the BRZ. So, I think the ND is awesome. I hope to maybe scoop one up when I'm when the time comes to part ways with Ace. But until then, I'm loving my NC, and but I definitely want to go drive one of these ones with the 20% more power, just because it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I would love to too. I would love to drive one back to back. The one with less horsepower, and then the one with 181.
Well, drive my car.
Yeah, and just drive
back
it right
to back,
after.
and you'll see the difference in the power curve.
That'd be interesting.
It's night and day.
Yeah, but the new Miata, it's going to have some more power.
I think it's
significantly
a step in
more
the right direction.
Roughly 20% more. So we'll see how the market reacts, how people respond to that, and yeah, should be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so now totally switching gears. We're going to talk about family cars.
My favorite. Not really.
This is an interesting topic, and one that's probably a lot more relevant to a lot more people than the Miata.
This is probably one of the most practical discussion we'll have.
Basically, I mean, why don't you take it away? This was your
your
baby.
We were just kind of chit-chatting before, and then this kind of came up out of nowhere, really. So I think we can kind of agree that the family car has evolved. Family car, meaning the type of car that is typically, I guess, bought, what you see on the road that families drive. So, like, what did you say before? Like the 1930s, the 40s, 50s was typically...
I guess you go all the way back to, like, horse and carriages. You had to have a carriage big enough to fit your whole family. So, roughly 4 people, right?
Right.
Yeah, 4 or 5 people comfortably.
But the type of car, I guess, that was typally stereotyped for a family car would be a station wagon to start, right?
Different types like that.
And I think we can all agree that evolved into the SUV, the full-size American SUV. What I mean by that is like the truck base, like for example the Suburban, the Tahoe,
the Excursion.
Exactly. Like,
I had a friend, and he had, well, I think it was like 4 or 5 brothers and sisters and their parents, and they had an Excursion, and that's like one of the only families I've ever seen driving one that, like, wow, you have that many kids, you need an Excursion. There is no other vehicle that will do the job.
It's not about that though. It's more about like, hey, I have a big car. Like for my family,
I have a lot of sex. That's what it says, dude. It's like I have this many kids because I get it on.
All right, I don't know about that, but for our family, we're a family of 4.
Yeah,
we had 3 generations of Suburbans.
Wow.
Like, do we need that many seats? No, but it's at least for my parents, they like we went camping a lot. We can store literally everything. Cool. We can sleep in the car, like all that. But
it is like a house,
and it's a status symbol as well. I think at the time it meant like, hey, like I've done okay for myself. And
you have to.
Bigger is better, right?
Sure.
The American way.
They are not cheap cars, and
right.
Definitely. I mean, that's the oldest. Like sort of semblance of luxury. I think in any of the cars. If you look way back to the dawn of the automobile, the first luxury cars were like the big Duesenbergs and stuff. They're huge, and it was all about having more space while you're on the road. And I think the SUVs are really what's carrying that kind of torch these days.
But I think, so going from the truck type of design or like that setup to now being more, I guess, what would you say, European?
There's a lot of the world, or shall we say the world cars, but European specifically, I guess.
Definitely European, I guess Japanese influence as well. Just pretty much saying that the era of the large V8, typically family SUV, is now what the Toyota CR-V, the larger maybe the larger Q5, Q7 maybe.
Q7's still a 7-seater.
It's still big, but it's
not
big, like
it's not as big as like a Suburban.
Right, and the proportions are just totally different. So it's just interesting to see that, and just like the evolution of people's tastes. Yeah.
I mean, you have like the land yacht class, like the luxury end of like the GLS. They make the GLS 63 AMG.
I love that car.
Like 7-seat big boat, but like, hey, I mean, why not? And Dodge just brought out the Durango SRT, so it's got the 392 Hemi, 475 horse, but in the ultimate daddy mobile. You know what I mean? So it works. It's 7-seater, but it's a badass car. I saw it the other day. It was really, it's a badass, I guess minivan alternative.
Right.
I'd drive that over a minivan any day.
Yeah.
That said, minivans are... way more, very practical.
Oh, extremely.
Like
and
ergonomic.
and it's very interesting to see kind of the trend change. I don't know too much about minivans.
And I don't think either of us really know that much about
I just
modern
know,
minivans.
When I sit in a minivan, I'm like, oh, I didn't know have this. Like some of them have like, I'm sure I'm bold, but like vacuums in them and.
Yeah, and I like the some of like the ones with like the stow and go seating, trademark of I think Dodge or whatever. I mean the new minivans have gotten really really clever with their packaging and stuff. I mean, from an ergonomics perspective, I've heard from people that have a lot of kids or even like 2 kids that like just from a usability standpoint, when you're trying to handle a kid. Like the sliding door, the access you get from that in tight spaces and stuff. You don't have to worry about dinging the car next to you and stuff. Like that's huge for a parent with a young kid.
I'm sure that'll matter later in life for me.
I'm sure it will. We'll see. I always say I don't want to be the guy with the minivan, but maybe at when you get to that certain point and your kid like throws the door into some other car, you're maybe like, well, maybe it's time. Like. For a couple of years, who knows? We'll see, but
so I think the era is changing from pure size and look at me to refinement because the size it's smaller packaging, everything's more refined interior wise, exterior wise. There's nothing like shouting out at you. Usually,
functionality too. I think for sure.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
There's a big emphasis because I think once you have a kid, it's less about like oftentimes it's less about luxury. It's more about like having the features. You want the little bastards to shut up in the back seat, so you need to have those TV screens back there for them to watch their stuff.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they're going to distract you, and that's dangerous. You don't want to be. I mean, all kidding aside, you don't want your kids to be like distracting you while you're driving.
Yep.
You're responsible for their safety.
Yeah. It should be interesting where it goes next. Really.
The other one to bring up is the Tiguan. The new Tiguan is a 7-seater.
That thing looks disgusting. I'm sorry.
I'm not a huge fan of it. It's not
Even
our kind of car.
Even interior wise, I think it's just.
But they crammed 7 seats into that. I mean,
just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
I agree, but think about it though. Like if you needed a 7-seater a few years ago, you had to get something huge. Like
this is.
You know what I mean? This is reasonable.
I think this is. I mean, they're totally different classes, but I think saying a Tiguan that has 7 seats is equivalent to saying, hey, Rolls-Royce, I can put bench seats in my vanity seats.
I'd like to say let's go test them both, but I think we can at least go test the Tiguan.
I think it's a marketing scheme.
I think the Rolls might be a little harder to test.
I think the marketing team was like, hey, we need something to really differentiate this car in this class, and we're going to put 7 seats in it.
I think we need to go drive a Tiguan. I think that's homework for one of the upcoming
we'll have to
podcasts. We will come back to this about the Tiguan and see if it's really a 7-seater or not.
And we'll be incorporating more more car reviews,
trying things.
As we go. Fun. But going back to the evolution of the family car, it'd be really interesting what comes next. Went from station wagons, you can say, if you're talking very general, station wagons to large SUVs, and now more normal sizes.
Well, they're getting smaller. They ballooned to a huge degree, and now they're like getting a little bit smaller, a little more practical.
Right, and I'm sure there's political, economic, all those reasons, but in general, it's just interesting to see. Like, for example, we talked about this, the Nissan Juke. I mean, the styling, everyone has their own opinion on that, but in regards to the size, I didn't think it would last, to be honest. Like the size itself, I'm like, who's gonna buy this car? The back seats are terrible.
I am very surprised it's still for sale.
Right.
And when it first came out and I drove pretty well, but it was like I was like, I don't know if this is gonna catch on.
Yeah, like a Civic has more. I mean, Civic has pretty big. I mean, pretty.
The new one, but like the general, like if you go back a generation, even that Civic had more.
Sure. Yeah. Right. And just saying like, who's gonna buy this? But now we have the Toyota.
HHR? Or no, not HHR. HR. No, man. No, it's not even that.
That's a Honda one, right?
I don't even know the name.
Okay, I think
Here we are, car podcast. We don't know. That's because, we're car enthusiasts. We don't know, I'm not, shopping at the Toyota dealership for, their entry-level crossover. But
yeah, but I think we all know that size.
CHR or something like that?
Probably.
We'll figure it out.
Smaller than a RAV4, that's all I know.
Yeah, way smaller than a RAV4. And now there's a Lexus version if you want to buy that. I don't know who's going to buy that, but somebody will. They will, because that's the kind of market that this is. But yeah, people people like, I guess they like the higher ride of crossover.
Yeah.
And
the appearance of being more versatile.
Yeah, I mean, they are very versatile.
They are.
It's
a lot more versatile than a truck platform. Super heavy.
It's more drivable. Yeah, it's like very easy to wield it and like park it, but you still get like the functionality of like a higher body in the car.
And the gas mileage portion for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, a Suburban's gas mileage is not the best.
I can tell you the way I drove in high school when I had my mom's Suburban driving around, I averaged around 9 to 10 miles per gallon.
Oh my god!
And I had I believe it's a 38-gallon tank in California when gas is ridiculously expensive. Yeah, but so it should be interesting. I mean, just keeping an eye out, just seeing the evolution of the typical family car or typical car that's being bought for new families. It's really interesting to see this new change. It's exciting in a ways because it means I think people are starting to pay more attention to. They're just getting more picky because the competition's higher, in my opinion.
There's a lot of options out there.
And I feel like back when I guess larger SUVs, you had the Excursion, a bunch of the GM products, Suburban, Yukon, of course the Escalade. What other ones were there?
But I mean, I think back then though, like if you wanted a car with 7 seats or like even 5 seats, but a large car that was big enough for 5 people to really stretch out, you had to get a pretty big SUV.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think there was not the packaging that there is today in some of the smaller SUVs, and certainly not in cars. You know, a lot of people bought smaller vehicles. It was a car.
Yep.
But things are changing.
Yeah.
So it's definitely heading towards that. But like I said, when we talked about this briefly earlier, was that in a way I kind of see the modern SUVs as essentially extensions of the old station wagons, because it's kind of the same shape. Like you've got the full back that slopes down and at the end, but it's kind of just like a station wagon with a higher ride height, and boom, you got yourself a crossover.
You should bring back the old El Camino.
Oh well, that's totally different. I don't even have a back seat, but yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Crossovers. Sorry, enthusiasts, if we're boring you with that, but we had to hit the mommy bloggers there for a little bit. All right, so the last topic for this podcast too will be exotics in the self-driving era.
Scary stuff.
Oh yeah, so this is piggybacking off of the self-driving cars we discussed last week. I guess the question is, what place will exotic cars have in that world?
I think before we start this topic, I think we need to determine what an exotic car is. Kind of like lay the groundwork, because some people may have a different idea of an exotic car. So I think let's establish that first before we get into this. Mm-hmm. So do you want to just kick it off?
I mean, to me, exotic car purveys like anything that is just so radically outside what a normal car is. So that can be a supercar like a Lamborghini, or it can be a massive limousine like a Rolls Royce. And kind of anything that's that out there, or like those big SUVs that are like, luxury version of like a military vehicle. Like that's exotic, because like it's not something you see every day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it is really expensive. I do think exotics have to be luxury items.
So would a Performante be an exotic still, or is that a hypercar?
No, that's an exotic. I mean, I would say hypercars are like a subsection of like exotic cars and supercars.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. But like I definitely consider a Rolls Royce or even a Bentley as like an exotic. Like on the luxury realm.
I think it could be, if I had the numbers in front of me, I'm sure you could determine that based on volume sold.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good indicator.
That probably would be. Just because they're more bespoke. It's like the highest of luxury. But yeah, I mean, if you want to like turn heads, like, a Rolls Royce Phantom drop head's going to turn as many heads as a Gallardo going through town.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like the size of a school bus, and it's a 2-door convertible.
And that grill.
It's bitching. For sure. Do you agree with that? That's about totally. All right. So what role are those cars going to have once? Let's say there are many areas where you cannot drive yourself, and there are some areas like, between, the countryside and whatnot, where you have the option to either drive yourself. some cars will be available with the ability to drive yourself, and at some point, some cars will not be available. You will just be able to ride in it, and it will drive you. You won't have the option of manual control. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of world we're talking about, right? So something similar to like iRobot, where Will Smith was able to like, you know, take manual control of his futuristic R8 concept.
Control now.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, and then there were certain areas where he just let it drive itself.
Yeah.
So
that movie's old now.
Crazy, right? Yeah. It makes me feel old thinking how old that movie is. But yeah, that was the R8 concept. Just a quick side.
Yeah, that was insane. I never really liked Audi's design that much back when that came out. That was those
like 05, 06.
Yeah, like the designs were like, you know, pretty boring. And then I saw iRobot and I was like, damn, is that an Audi? I was like, if this is the future, it's looking good. And look at where it is now.
Yeah, Audi's killing it.
And, for sure.
All right, so I mean, I think in that realm, as long as people are, you know, buying their own modes of transportation, there's always going to be the status symbol factor for sure. Mm-hmm. You know, people with more means are always going to want something a little bit cooler, a little bit nicer, a little bit, you know, faster if that still matters.
I don't think it will.
Well, I mean, if you're able to take control yourself, I think fast still matters. What if it was a fully automated world and you just rode in cars? Then maybe it doesn't matter. But you know, I think you know, something like a Lamborghini is going to evolve, even if those have the ability to drive themselves. I think a fast supercar like that becomes pointless if you can't actually drive it.
Right.
Because if you can't drive it, it's going to, if it's driving itself, it is going to be obligated to follow the rules of the road and in sync with the rest of traffic.
Yeah, I think that's why this discussion is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because it kind of, the whole purpose of an exotic car is to be extra. No matter what it is. Extra off-roading, like extra speed, extra whatever. But then if
extra lux.
Sure, yeah.
Bench seats come out the tailgate.
I mean, that can still...
saucy shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that will still exist, though.
Yeah, totally.
The self-driving car, I mean, I think the next elements of that would be possibly just interior extra bells and whistles, things like that. But back to the argument of a discussion of like speed, like does that matter anymore? I guess, you know what I mean?
In a world where you're not in a rat race with everybody else to get where you're going, I don't know if speed matters as much. I mean, people are still, you know, human beings being competitive. We're still going to want to race and stuff and do that. But you know, I think that might have a different place in the world. Like I don't think you'd be. I mean, if manual driving goes away completely, I don't think there will be any place for like.
You know, it's going to be crazy. Like, what if it's the next thing, instead of you driving, you develop the next software to get where you're going faster?
I mean. I'm sure. Well, and the thing is, I think there's probably more opportunity for that because
like that's going to be the new.
Because if there's sort of like a hive mind that's like regulating all of the traffic, and someone needs to get somewhere, like look, even like an ambulance or something, how is that going to get ambulances through traffic quicker? It's going to have to manage the other cars on the road and get them out of the way and let the ambulance go through. So there will be something to do with that. But I think, you know, going 200 miles an hour in a 55 zone. Like you can in a Lamborghini in certain areas. Like, I don't think that outlaw speeding aspect is going to really
For the record, we've never done that.
I've never done that exact thing. You know, maybe something similar. But I mean, that's if nobody can drive.
Yeah.
But if you can manually drive, I don't think it changes too much.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I mean?
But I think this is kind of in the realm of when we don't really need to drive.
Probably.
I mean, obviously, if you can take manual control, like maybe out in the countryside, then that's different. And I think that the same rules kind of apply that we have now.
Yeah. Well, and I think also, like, if there's no manual control, I do think the idea of, like, a Lamborghini as such, like, something that you can drive in and amongst normal traffic, that will die. Yeah. That type of thing may still exist elsewhere, but it would be more along the lines of, like some kind of like a rocket ship thing you get to drive and fly around. It'll probably fly or whatever, but that won't be mixed in with the daily transportation crowd.
I agree.
But what I do think, where I think the exotics will go in a world where it's all self-driving, is you'll see a lot more Rolls-Royce type of things. These ultra luxurious, crazy, features and amenities. That will be where it goes if people can't really drive or don't really drive themselves.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to like take a shower in your car.
Exactly.
The car's gonna dress you.
All kinds of any saucy, crazy, luxurious stuff, like tons of style.
Yep.
The styling is definitely not going away. People are always gonna want to, whether they are driving it or being driven. Actually, technically, self-driving cars already exist if you have a Rolls Royce, because you just pay your chauffeur to drive you and it drives itself. You know what I'm saying?
Just make sure he's
help drives you. So Rolls Royces have been self-driven cars in that sense for a long time. This is not going to disrupt their business, I don't think.
No, yeah, I think this.
Other than add more competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but it should be interesting. It's kind of scary. It's a scary thought, just because absolutely. The self-driving car era, it's kind of the similar, more of a scare, as electric cars were to the exotic cars, I guess, or petrol heads.
Yeah.
I think this is scarier.
I think this is way scarier.
Yeah, because it would potentially eliminate the need, or just to use that.
Yeah.
What's
exactly.
the point? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do think this is a ways in the future.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I'm not even sure if it'll be if that
lifetime.
reality will be in our lifetime, but. I think at a certain point
it's
it will,
plausible
because it's efficient. That's that's if you're. I think we all want and basically need our own transportation system to have freedom to go wherever we want in the world.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're just riding the bus and it's public transportation.
Yeah.
And the truth is, people, especially people with the means to not do that, don't really want to do that.
Yeah, and also your older folks as well.
Yeah, so I think, for sure, ultra luxury is not going away.
No.
Excess is not going away. Style is not going away.
Mm-hmm.
And speed, as long as we have the option to be reckless with it, is not going away.
Mm-hmm.
If that option goes away, the speed aspect of normal transportation may go away. So we'll see.
It's sad.
I know.
I'm sad.
It's so much fun to just, bend the rules a lot. You know what I mean? It's I don't know about you, but I at least try to do it in, the right time and the right place. But it's so much fun just because.
I'm a civilized driver.
I don't know, man. You're talking about getting your radar detector the other day, and I'm just oh man, this guy's reckless.
All right. Back to the topic.
But so that's actually the last topic for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We will be returning next week with episode 3.
Mm-hmm. And again, so we're early. These are our first couple episodes, so
we're getting it rolling.
Yeah, any feedback would be fantastic. We're always trying to improve our stuff. We're eventually going to have video.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll lose some weight.
Yeah, gotta lose some weight there.
Look prettier. But yeah, should be exciting. Our next podcast, it will probably be covering some commercials that we've been seeing, and then talking what we briefly touched on today about badging on
specialty badging on cars and whatnot. It'll be interesting. Some debates we've been having. So
absolutely.
We will pick it up there.
Yeah. So hope you learned something, or at least made you think about,
or entertained.
Yeah, hopefully.
Alrighty. We will see you guys next week. Take care.
Mind over motor.